Hey everyone, it's Brooke. I'm going to be doing a spoiler and non-spoiler review of Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. I did do a review of Shadow and Bone, so I will link that up above if you want to have a watch of that. It's a pretty long video, but I'm going to keep this one quite short because I'll be super honest with you, I don't have much to say about this book. It was mostly filler. So let's just get into the synopsis. Alina Starkov has gained the first amplifier, and since then her power has grown significantly. However, as she tries to outrun the Darkling is still trying to claim her, and there is a growing darkness inside of her. She doesn't know what it is or where it came from, but she does know she is in some way connected to the Darkling. As Alina and Mao try to outrun the Darkling, they can tell that they're out of luck. So they enlist the help of an infamous privateer, and they work together to find a way to get the second amplifier and also find a way to the third. My first initial thoughts on this book are the world building is amazing in this. There is so much more information, and one of the things that I feel we really missed out on in the first book was world building, which there is so much in this book, and I'm so glad that Leigh Bardugo put that in there. Just because I love world building, and yes, I love character-centered books, but I still think that if this is set in a fantasy land, we should still see so much more of that fantasy land. These characters are really interesting and a little bit tropey, I'm not gonna lie. They do follow tropes. Pretty much all of the characters in this series just follows tropes, but they also stand out of their tropes and they have a real personality, and they're also really lovable characters. Honestly, my favorite would be one of the brand new characters. He is my absolute most favorite, and it was quite funny because he's like a comedic relief and also saying what the readers are thinking. I really like that. Another thing I would like to say is that the story is filler. There isn't much to the story. A lot of it really drags, unfortunately, especially in the middle. I ended up not reading this book for about a month because I got about here and I was just like, this is starting to drag, and I didn't read it for a month because it was just such a weirdly paced book with a lot of stuff in it that, I'll be super honest with you, we really didn't need. And it was just a mixture of, this is important information, this is not important information, and we glossed over important information. So some really important scenes we're actually not there for. It just kind of gets told to us, which is a pet peeve of mine. I can understand if she hit a writing block and she didn't know how to explain it, but at the end of the day, you need to overcome that and explain it. I'd rather like a poor explanation over not seeing it happen. So that's what I would much prefer. Where the Darkling does something to Alina which I consider sexual assault, and it's just not okay, especially because there was so much romanticization around his character. He's abusive, he's disgusting, let's stop, thank you. And not only that, but it's also the thing is, I can see a bit of romanticization in the book, as in Leigh Bardugo saw that everyone thought he was attractive, and rather than showing that he's a monster and just that, she wanted to make him seem almost like he could go back to being good, which I don't think is a good idea, just because too many girls think that they can change their like not very good boyfriend. So I didn't really think that was a good idea to put this in this book, considering that this is a young adult book and it's not your job to change anybody, and I really don't like that that was in this book. I think that is quite problematic and just really should not have been in this. One thing I will say is there is a scene I really don't like in this book, which is, well, at least I really enjoyed the writing. The writing was really strong and enjoyable. I thought it was fun. The only thing that I would like to change is the pacing when it comes to the writing, because it was not paced correctly. And that's about it for my non-spoiler thoughts, and into my spoilery thought. So the first thing I want to talk about is Alina. I really like Alina in this book. In the first book, Alina was so frustrating and passive and didn't really do anything. Like, she tried to do stuff, but she would always get manipulated with not very good manipulation. Like, she was just very naive, and it was so frustrating because all I could think was like, you don't see that this is a trap? You don't see that the Darkling does not love you and is not attracted to you? Maybe he's attracted to her, but he doesn't love her. But in this one, she has a backbone, and she is so interesting in this book. She's ready to know exactly what is going on. She's taking the lead. She's being a brilliant leader, and her passion and determination to free her nation and free her people and protect the humans is amazing, and I really, really love that. I also really love Nikolai. He is my favorite character in the series, because I've now read the final book. I absolutely adore him. He was a little bit of a shallow character, and by that I mean he was a bit more of a static character, not a dynamic character at first, but as you move on you see that he's a bit more of a dynamic character. He was really, really interesting because he had more passion towards keeping his family safe and doing what was right over like regular politics and parties and things like that. However, he still had enjoyment. He kind of reminded me of Dorian from Throne of Glass quite a bit, which I really quite like. It was also quite funny how he is a true Slytherin. I'm sorry if you're not a fan of Harry Potter. I know that you either love it or you hate it, or like you really hate it. But he is a very much a Slytherin character. He's insanely ambitious and will get to his goal at no end, to the point that he would actually either kill or wrong Alina. He even says to her, I will put my ambition and my goals before anyone and anything. He'll put them before his family. Like, he knows what he wants and he's going to go get it. And he won't like doing that to the people. He'll try and find a way around it, but like, he will do it, which is how I knew that he was not going to be, he's not going to be a love interest for Alina. It won't really work. And also because I could tell from the writing that she's just going to get back together with Mal. On to Mal. I really don't like Mal in this one. Wow. I can tell that Mal is experiencing quite severe depression and he's falling down a rabbit hole of really bad mental health. However, that does not excuse the things that he has said and done. And the poor communication in their relationship, oh my gosh, was infuriating, because I hate it when that's a plot point. I hate it how in the first book there's a love triangle. One guy is really, really mean and the other guy is really nice and respectful. So you like the really nice and respectful guy, and then the author tries to flip it over and make the really respectful guy the mean one. Come on. I don't like that. It's like the Tamlin effect, and I'm getting that from Read with Cindy. Check her channel out if you haven't seen it, which if you haven't seen it, I'm surprised. She's a very popular, very big YouTuber. It was a little bit like the Tamlin effect of making him amazing in the first book and absolute dirt in the second book. I didn't like that. I thought it was quite, I think that's a bit lazy, because the thing is, I can understand he was depressed. I can understand that he wanted to be with old Alina before being the Sun Summoner, but she is the Sun Summoner now. And I can understand the whole, I want back to the simpler times, but you're not going to get back to the simpler times. And he is, instead of working on it and trying to love her for who she is, he's kind of just accusing her of not loving him, accusing her of wanting to be with Nikolai, accusing her of wanting to be with the Darkling. Oh my lord, it was just too much for me. But I do find that he still had that love and care for Alina, so I do respect that. The only issue, no, I have a lot of issues. Another issue I have with their relationship is Mal will do anything. He will live his life provided Alina is happy. He will let her be the Sun Summoner provided she is happy. Well, he wouldn't let her. She'll do what she wants and he will just like live with it, if that makes sense. He will protect her even if she doesn't want him there, provided she is safe. He has devoted his entire life to Alina, and that's just not healthy. I don't think that is an appropriate thing to have in a book, just because if it were, the roles were reversed and it was Alina like this towards Mal, everyone would be so mad. But because it's a guy this devoted to his girlfriend, it's romantic. I don't think that's romantic. I think even though you are in a relationship and you are in a partnership or a team, because more people can be in a relationship, you still need to live your own independent lives, because you are still your own human being and you still have your own responsibilities, lives and ambitions. So he didn't really let himself be his own person, which I wish he did. That does get approved upon, I'm going to say. So it's not too bad. On to the Darkling. I do like that he was still a presence in this book. He was a lot more threatening in this book. The what was it called? The Nichivoya? I could be getting that from a completely different series, I don't know. The Nichivoya, I think that's what it's called. Those monsters they had were disgusting and terrifying, and the absolute thought of how every time he came near, or if he was talking to her in kind of like that limbo land, Alina's shoulder would throb from her injury, I thought was really interesting, and especially also meant that when it came to Nikolai's birthday dinner and her shoulder started to throb, I'm like, oh, something's gonna go down, and we're not far enough in the book so to know that if everything's gonna be okay. So I knew that something was gonna go down regardless, and I thought it was like, oh, okay, something's gonna go down. But I thought that was quite interesting. Another thing I found quite interesting was the limbo. I knew for a fact that Alina was not going crazy and that there was a higher chance that the Darkling could actually talk to her through a form of limbo. I think it's due to the bite, because there had no real connection prior to that. Their only connection was due to the fact of he manipulated her and therefore she had a bit of Stockholm syndrome towards him. But it felt a little bit odd because in some cases it was very forced and in other cases it came very clear and understandable. One thing I really didn't like, which I mentioned earlier, was the sexual assault, which was disgusting. Basically, after Alina and Mal have an argument, the Darkling wears like his face and goes and tries to have relations with Alina. When Alina finds out this is the Darkling, she is horrified and devastated because she does not like the Darkling in that way. She was not consenting to the Darkling. So I don't like that. I don't like that the fans are romanticizing it. I think that is very messed up. I do think it's a good idea to have this in this book because it does show how terrible the Darkling is. However, unfortunately, it has been romanticized by fans. That's more of a criticism of the fan base and not the book though. So yeah, but I wanted to also put in a trigger warning prior to that just because that is not okay, and I know that some people can be triggered by that. Last thing I wanted to talk about was the ending, and oh my lord, that was insane. I thought it was really interesting. I really didn't care when Nikolai's brother died. I was like, yeah, he's gonna die either in this one or the next one. He's gonna die. It's a sixth sense of mine. I can tell when a character's gonna die. You can tell I have a lot of free time in my hands. Well, I don't anymore. But I thought that was really well written and really high stakes. It was terrifying, especially also when you'd see Grisha hugging his friend because she had just been viciously killed. Was insane. I kept being so worried about Nikolai. I was like, wait, where's Nikolai? Is he gonna die? I'm so worried. And it's left on like a cliffhanger of you don't know if Nikolai is alive or not. I was quite certain that Nikolai is still alive because I thought that was really quite good because I don't think Nikolai will die. And it was just really well done. The writing was so good. Usually I hate action scenes. Usually I hate war scenes because I don't like how they're written. I'm not an action-packed reader. I like more like political type of Game of Thronesy type of fighting people through your words, tricking people into things and like cowardly killing them through poison. I like that in books because I like conversations. But I really liked this. I really loved how it was written. That's the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you actually have read this book and you liked it or you didn't like it or you agree or disagree with anything I said, leave a comment down below because I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. And if you think the Darkling is creepy and weird like I do, please leave a comment down below because I want to see if there's anyone who else thinks this, because I know there are a few booktubers and a couple of my friends, but I usually just see people saying he's hot. Please let there be people out there who think it's gross. Please. Looks only get you so far. Anywho, that is the end of my video. I hope you have a wonderful day or night. I'm not good at outros, and goodbye.